All right. It is Modern Relics Podcast. I'm Angel. He's lucky we're back. It's hot.
We are back.
It's August.
How hot?
We last week were at 117 degrees. And now we're monsooning, getting very close to another rain spell tomorrow where we've dropped to a very frigid 98 degrees, which has been a nice reprieve.
That is quite the reprieve. We have been kind of stabilized at between 88 and 91 for probably the last, I don't know, week and a half, 2 weeks now. So it's not too bad.
With the brilliant air quality index, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, that has been fantastic. I spent two services out in that for church on Sunday, just breathing in all that barbecued air.
Yeah.
And it's actually better today. Things are starting to clear out because the fires are kind of dissipating a bit, but they're getting a handle on them, of course, until the next rain or the next wave, because one of the two are inevitable. So, but yeah. Outside of that, my week's been okay. Been kind of just trucking along, working, kind of still in, wedding prep mode. Oliver has refrained from stealing stop signs, but he did break up with his girlfriend, which was something he needed to do, and he took it and did it like a man. So that was interesting. But then outside of that, I've just been on kind of a weight loss thing going on. And as of May 31st, let's just say June 1st, because that's when Kate and Wiley decided on the venue, which decided the date for the wedding, which is September 5th. Mm-hmm. So June 1st up until today, which is the 11th of August.
Yeah.
I am down 30 and a half pounds.
Wow.
So, so I started off at a robust 240.6, and today I am at 210 and some change. So,
nice.
But yeah, so I'm hoping to get down to about 200 by the wedding. So only 10 more pounds in about 28 days or whatever. Totally doable. And ultimately down to between like 185 and 190, and then just kind of hopefully maintaining that. But I think that's my body structure's best weight is about 185 to 190. So, but yeah, so pretty happy, feeling really great. Not feeling sluggish, and my joints feel better, and
nice.
And most of that is almost entirely diet. Like I've done very little exercise. I was in the garage today doing workout a little bit for just about an hour, and if I do like an hour to 3 hours a week, it's all I really need. And everything else has been just portion control, far less calories, and only eating no carbs, no sugar, and only eating good food, whole foods. And so, but it's been good. So, of course, there's the frustration that men tend to have when they are on a weight loss journey with their spouse. And that is that men tend to lose it faster, right? And so if you lose it without doing anything, it's not fair.
Yeah.
If you're just not eating, it's not fair to them. But if you do stuff like do workout, then you lose it even more rapidly.
Right.
And then at that point, it's also like extra not fair. So there's no winning for losing in a men's weight loss journey if he's in it with a significant other. Yeah. So that being said, Aaron has lost also a dramatic amount. I don't know exactly because women hold that close to the chest, even from their spouses. But she's lost a pretty significant amount. And so we're like trying not to be the fat a-holes in the wedding photos.
Yeah, sure.
So that's what we're up to at the moment, and it's working pretty good. So, how about you? How's your week been? You had a visitor.
Yeah, my pops is down here hanging out. It's been really fun. There was obviously the aforementioned heat took a lot out. He was down here with his girlfriend and her family, and they were doing the very. They sent me a copy of their itinerary of things to do. It's very tourism driven, a lot of, this, that, and the other thing. But when you're doing it on foot in the hottest month of the entire year, it's a lot to process. So we've been hard chilling in all the ways that you can. But it was pretty bad because, when you get through forms of heat exhaustion, it takes a good week to 10 days to get back on your feet. So like just quick trip to the grocery store, it's tough to make it all the way to the door and back to where the truck's parked kind of thing without being absolutely just staggered with the amount of heat that's out there.
Yeah.
So, but it's been cool. Like things are slowly moving their way back up. Pop flies home tomorrow, which is cool. Tough getting to the Tri-Cities or to Spokane directly from here, which it shouldn't be. I just booked a flight for the wedding recently, and the amount of layover time you have in every other city around the closest airport to you is kind of bananas. It's like, it's a 2.5 hour flight. Only one airline now flies direct, and they only offer part-time flights. Like, we only fly out of your airport on Tuesdays and Thursdays kind of thing. Where you're like,
right.
I don't want a part-time pilot. Like,
no.
What else do you do for work? Like, hopefully just this.
Waking up from a nap going, where are we going? Oh, we're going back to Vegas. Right. Okay, get on board. Let's do this.
Yeah. How much fuel do we have? Yeah, we could probably make Spokane. Like, so, yeah, that part's been fun. So I have a layover in Portland. Hey, Pop.
Hey.
I have a layover in Portland on the way there, and then a layover in Seattle on the way back. So here's Excellent. Pop, everyone.
Hey.
How's it going, Kevin? How you doing, brother?
Too bad. Not too bad.
Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah. No, I just been down here. He kind of filled you in on it, I guess, but we're just having a good time, relaxing.
Good. Yeah, don't get heat exhaustion though. I know you guys are.
I went through that. We were down running all over downtown Seattle, and then I got over here, and I think we've been outside in the heat maybe 3 times in a week or something. Been nice.
Are you taking advantage of that pool out back there?
Yeah, I look at it. I look out the slider. No, I just yeah. It's been nice. We've just been kind of sitting around, drinking ice water and drinking coffee.
Yeah. You guys putting anything on the smoker while you're there?
No, it's too hot outside. No, come on, man.
Too hot outside. Yeah, that's true.
No, we've just been kind of relaxing and, just visiting, catching up. And
cool.
It's pretty cool.
Cool. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Was it too hot to get out to the range?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
When I was walking around downtown, I'd go maybe not very far, and I'd have to stop. I was overheating and muscles locking up, so I'm not even taking a chance out there. I didn't bring any.
Yeah, it's dangerous
down.
Out there when it reaches those. Yeah,
it was up in the 118 range, and they got those little watches that count your steps. One day it was up to 118 and we did 22,000 steps, and I'm like,
that'll do it.
I think there should be laws against stuff like that,
When last August, because I was down there last August, and it was roughly around the same temp, and I was driving back and forth from the shop to Angels, and it was 118, and at one point I took a picture, it was 119 in the car, or like outside as I was driving up, and I would get to the shop, and just the walk from the car to the mall was like just brutal. And so, but most of the time I was inside, a really air conditioned mall, so I didn't really get affected too much by it. But yeah, there's no way I think I could probably be one of those people who survive in that type of weather all the time. Like I'd have to have a break. And so,
well, we walked from the hotel room through the casino to go to eat somewhere, and we would go along the street, but we would go into a casino, walk for, through the casino, then get back on the street, then go into the next casino, because we were trying to walk in the air conditioning, but it was
It's what you got to do during certain times. Yeah, for sure.
It was pretty brutal. So anyway, I better let you kids get back to what you're doing.
All righty, man. Good to see you.
All right.
Swing by the shop again when you get back to town.
Yeah, I'm coming back probably in a week or so. I'm going to go up to Leora's tomorrow, and then after that I'll probably be back over the weekend, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to.
Excellent.
I'll have to come back.
You know where I'll be.
Yeah. Chained to the table.
Chained to the table. Yeah, right, as man. Always. So
see ya.
Good to see you, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah, very hot. We all become indoor cats between July and September for sure.
Well, cool. Good to hear.
Yeah.
So since Kevin's been gone, and this seems to happen every time one of us locals leaves the state of Idaho. Every time I leave, something dramatic happens in our neck of the woods.
Yeah.
We have had 2 incidences that have been pretty heavy duty in the state of Idaho. Once again, drawing national eye on both problems. And the first one was a pretty tragic situation down in Twin Falls, Idaho, which is, man, I want to say like 8 hours south of us. So it's it's a fairly small town. I think it's like 56,000 for the whole kind of vicinity, which is fairly comparable to the Coeur d'Alene area. So it's not quite as big as Boise or the Meridian area, but it is a pretty significant, like, small town, you know? But they do, in fact, have In-N-Out burgers down there, which we're hoping crawl their way up here once they build the right distribution centers. But unfortunately, at one of those on August 1st, so 10 days ago, we had a open shooter. So we had a shooting that happened with what turned out to be a younger guy by the name of Chad Williams, who was caught all over camera, who, for an unknown reason as of yet, has had went out with multiple firearms, including an AR-15, and decided to open fire on random people, possibly. There's speculation that it was some type of family dispute of some kind, but that's all inconclusive. But that 4 people were killed, and that seven people were injured, some of which were employees of that particular In-N-Out, and some of them were just sitting in their cars. And there's a list of the people who were harmed on the internet. But he began near an In-N-Out burger, but actually there was multiple people who engaged him that were not police officers. So a Jordan Salinas and an Austin Scott James, and then an off-duty Idaho State Trooper. They managed to sequester him into and I think one of them, the details aren't out yet entirely, but I think one of them actually managed to wing him and drop him. And then from the understanding that I've had recently is that there is video of him pleading for his life as they held him down, and then he escaped from there. And then from what I understand, had taken his own life. So this is all obviously unsubstantiated this is all just basically conjecture outside of the shifting narrative of details that come in too soon. Who knows? We'll find out probably more of the full story, but still motivation hasn't been conclusively determined. But the guys who basically kept this from getting more out of hand than it did, it could have been far, far worse, were good men with firearms. They're the ones who, in the state of Idaho, which one of the reasons I love this state is because of its very lax and complete understanding of constitutional carry laws. Yeah. And so, and it allows for stuff like this. It allows for when bad people with firearms do bad things, that there are good people out there who get and have the freedom and the opportunity to stand up for their fellow people around and actually do something about it. Yeah. And
well, one of them was recognized by the sheriff's department or something like that for standing in and helping out. And I think that guy was just at least the report, the early one that I read was like, thought that there was a building fire because everyone was like running out of the building and stuff like that, and just kind of sprang into action and stuff. I didn't know there were multiple folks that stepped in to help out, but I know at least one of them was recognized, which, cool on Idaho's part. Yeah, if it were another state,
the cowboy hat.
There you go. Yeah, because if it were other state, they probably would have, said it was a mass shooting at that point.
Right. Yeah. So, and then there's video coming out of the other guy inside the In-N-Out protecting all of the employees who had dropped to the floor, and he's telling them to stay down and get back, and they're like actually listening to his direction, which is super rare, but they all were like, okay, this guy seems to know what he's doing. And he had his pistol out, and he actually was corralling them to make sure that they were staying safe while he checked it out and made sure, and he helped a bunch of the employees. And I think that was the Austin Scott James guy. But they stepped into action and did the right thing. And it was a beautiful thing to stop evil. Now, one of the things that is like, they're being very careful with who this guy was, as far as the information as to who the guy was and what his motivations are. So I'm hoping that we get some backstory on him and why he was out doing what he was doing. But it doesn't look like a terrorist situation, and it would be really stupid to do that in Idaho anyway, any type of Islamic terrorism or anything like that. But if that would be the area to do it, because that's kind of our more left-leaning kind of part of the state. The other aspect of it was that they were looking at, people wanted to throw it at the trans community immediately, much like a lot of the other shootings that have been going on recently. And it doesn't look like that's the case either, which is why the question mark on his motivation is becoming more and more kind of interesting as to what really motivated this guy to do what he was doing. But the photos of the guy have been, and video of him, multiple videos of him have come out. So I will keep everybody updated with this story as far as what who he was and what his motivations were. But as far as these other guys, 3 cheers for them, and way to step up, boys. That is how it's done. But this goes into my, I'm on the security team at my local church, and we have training for firearms and skill set training for that. And it's coming up again, and I haven't done it. And I haven't done it for this particular church, and I obviously know that I'm 100% qualified. I've been qualified for many, many, many years. However, it's not documented through their organization. The problem that I'm having is that for whatever reason, and I love our supervisor, the guy who's in charge of our security team. He's a dear friend of mine. However, one of the guys who goes to our church is a firearms instructor, and he's fantastic too, except for one thing, that they insist on doing it over in Spokane. Like for everybody, they set up a day and everybody goes out there and they do their time trials and they do all their, qualifications, and then they go home, and it doesn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes, which would be totally fine. But I refuse to support the state of Washington and its absolute assault on firearms and the Constitution and how it operates to support them in any way. I'm not bringing my firearms over there. I'm not doing anything with them. Right. I refuse to go over there for any other reason outside of going to the airport or going to some sporting function for my kids. Reluctantly, I had to go there to go try to find a suit for the wedding because they don't have any place over here to do it. But I'm not giving them my tax dollars. I don't want to give them my business, but I also don't want to support them in any capacity when it comes to firearms training at all. And so I asked, Mike, I'm like, Mike, why are we doing it over there? And he goes, well, it's because that's where that guy works. And I was like, then do it over here. Find another place. We've got plenty of gun ranges. Right. And that I will feel safe, that everybody else will feel safe, that we're not going to cross a border and get pulled over and then have more than 10 rounds in a magazine or whatever the case may be. I don't
at this point, the gun could be the wrong color and they'll find a way to,
exactly. Or the right licensing or whatever. I'm just not doing it. I'm not going over there, and I refuse to support it. I refuse to support a state that is openly hostile to the Second Amendment in any capacity. And so, and the reason why is the proof is in the pudding. Look at what's going on all over the state of Washington and why, companies are having to move from their like people who make magazines, all sorts of different firearms related companies are like, we're out of here. We got to go. Right. Or we're going to be sitting on warehouses full of felonies. So, there's a place here in Post Falls that actually did exactly that. They had to move their entire company over here and move their family and everybody else. It's a family-owned business. He's ex-law enforcement, but he had to move everything over because they were like, I'm going to be a felon for selling a product that we have an open business to do. Right. I'm not playing with that. And this is the type of stuff that it leads to, is the rampant crime, the rampant gun-related crime that they don't even know how to handle, like over the, by to Seattle, right. All of that kind of stuff. And it's continuous. And when you have what we have here in Idaho, where you can see people walking around the grocery store, open carrying on their hip, and you can feel comfortable because that there's some, like, criminals are going to second guess every single time, which is why we have low crime rates. Statewide, like across the board, we have some of the lowest crime rates in the country because of those type of laws. Yeah,
when the victim of the crime has a high probability of shooting back, the crime rate gets lower and lower. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's just my take on that. And I absolutely want to applaud these gentlemen for stepping in to saving lives which could have been way worse had they not stepped in. And it is because of the constitutional laws of the state of Idaho that allows gentlemen like that to not only step in, but to be celebrated when they do. And if I was over the border 15 minutes, not only would I have gotten in trouble for doing that, but I probably would have ended up in jail and lost my gun rights for stepping up and saving and helping people, And so that's something that I can't get around, not to crap on Washington anymore, which we have a tendency to do.
It's a hallmark of the show.
Yeah. So, but outside of that,
so what about the qualification? Are they going to hear you out and at least do your qualities over here, or have they made a decision on that? Or are you just going to be like, I abstain? Sorry.
I'm forcing his hand. He goes, well, we need them. And I was like, then either you take my badge
Right.
And I walk away because it's a volunteer situation, or you figure out a situation for me to take them here.
Right.
Because I will absolutely take them here, but I'm not crossing that border, and that's my line in the sand. I will not do that. And he went, fair enough, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So he's going to figure it out. He goes, I just don't want anyone else to know about it, because then everybody else, he goes, I've had 2 other people quit, which was the admission that he made. 2 other people quit for that exact same reason. And I was like, and he goes, I can't lose you. And I was like, well, then you need to figure something out and bring, as the supervisor, as the one in charge of our security team, you need to figure out how to do it over here. I'm actually kind of shocked that you would have allowed, after 2020 and what we all went through for the next couple of years, that you would have even entertained the idea of doing anything over in the state of Washington, especially with firearms.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it's kind of weird. So like, if you're being called out by a third person on this,
right,
you might want to look at it. So, and he went, no, you're right. So I think he's looking, and he doesn't want to work with Fernan gun range for whatever reason. He says there's beef there, but I don't care. Right. Like, I'm like, we have 5 other ones, like figure another one out.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's one, the police one that's off of Atlas. Do that one. I used to go there all the time for, you know, a $7 drop in for the day. Like, you can rent out a couple of bays and do it. It's fine. It's one of those things that I think I would like to see revised, but in tempo with, you know, what's going on within the state within the last 10 days. You know, like, this should be an eye-opener that, you know, if we're dealing with these type of threats at our church in our county, which we are, you know, then we need to all be on the same page. And I think that this is definitely one of those things that is a mental slip on people who are supposed to be actively in charge of the security of a lot of people, of 2,000 people, you know. So but that being said, c'est la vie. We'll see what happens. I will always be there in a kind of sense of kind of a security mindset, because I'm the one who knows all the players and the faces in this county. So that's what they need me for, is for kind of recognition intel, and I'll always be doing that regardless. So it's not something that is going to go away if I'm just not on a patrol for 2 services on a Sunday, you know.
Right.
So regardless, I'll always have my firearm on me too. So it's not really going to affect anything other than the fact that I don't have a badge that gives me access to the offices, you know. Other than that, that's it. So, but yeah. So, nice. But other than that, we talked about the air quality in my neck of the woods, which has gotten significantly better.
That's good news.
Because I think they're getting a pretty good handle if you look at the websites that kind of monitor the fires in this area. But there were some major fires in Spokane, and some of the biggest ones that we've seen historically for a long time. And they were in residential areas, over 640 buildings, not necessarily houses, but structures, were taken out. And this was all in North Spokane. Most of it was in North Spokane. And the fires have been determined, at least the major one that took out most of those buildings, were arson. They were done by a guy named Aaron Farinacci, 37-year-old arson suspect. He had been let go recently, where he was serving time for the murder of his father, and had been known to have a lot of mental instability. And they're trying to figure out why he was let go and why he was up for parole at all, and then why he very rapidly went into arson.
Yeah.
So it's a big situation. So
and also I read that he was responsible for starting lots and lots of other fires as well, right?
Yeah. So, but obviously the conspiracy theorists, which isn't going into conspiracy corner today, but they had been in that area, which is like just south of Meade in the Airway Heights kind of area of Spokane. They've been talking about putting a major data center there, and the community came out and for months had been fighting it. Down at multiple city halls, pushing back heavily to the point where lawsuits were being threatened if they even started to try to implement this. And it seemed to be that they had put it on the back burner for now, because they were getting so much pushback on it from the community saying, we don't want this here. That they had kind of reeled back and pulled back on kind of pushing it for a little bit. But there's a lot of money behind those things. And so the minute that these fires started and they oddly happened to be in the same exact area where the land was that they were going to be wanting to put this data center, and all the people who were complaining about it were all in that area. And then all of a sudden all their houses burnt down. Obviously the conspiracy theorists are jumping on this. They're like, this was a planned effort, like down in California, like in Hawaii, like in all the other areas where they're trying to set up smart cities. And we've discussed this in the past. But all of that kind of has been really, really a hot topic in the local region because of the fact that now they're going to be able to get that land for pennies on the dollar, if not completely, eminent domain it, and then do whatever they want with it. So
I'm gonna say that's one way to definitely argue your land rights to your data center, is to have all the communities in opposition of you burned down, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So now we'll see in the next year or two if development of that moves forward, or what they do with all of that land that those people owned, and see what happens. So but of course everybody's up in arms. We have as you're fully aware of, we have a very robust, hyperactive conspiracy contingent up here that is immediately jumping on this. And I don't say it's invalid. I mean, there's obviously a concern there, but when this weird dude gets let out of jail and all of a sudden starts a bunch of fires in the exact area that people were saying don't build a data center here, I mean, the dots connect, but is it just a coincidence, or is it because we're
I can hear the argument now. Season. It's just going to be, well, of course they're going to use somebody that mentally unstable because it's an easy scapegoat. It's just going to further the excitement.
Right. So I've been kind of just keeping my opinion pulled back on it until I start, which I think is really what we should do all the time. It's just, which we've done in the past on the show for years. We're like, let's kind of wait until the dust settles to kind of see what's going on. There are times to move quickly when it's obvious, but there are other times that we all just want to be the first one on the scene and jump on the stuff and throw all of our opinions all over it. I think that we need to wait. I think we need to wait, kind of sit back, keep our mouths shut, and see what happens. And then if things kind of point in that direction, sure, raise holy hell about it. Raise holy hell about it. But in the meantime, let's not make mountains out of molehills. This is already a tragedy. We need to start working on helping these families more than anything. I mean, there's the day it was going on, we were at work at the shop, and we kept getting all these walk-ins. It was like one of the busiest days, and it was literally people being that were being
displaced from that area.
Displaced, yeah. And there was no hotels in the whole Spokane or Spokane Valley area. They were all packed. And because obviously it's also like sports travel season for all these different, and in fact, the area that my daughter used to play almost all of Dwight Merkle Field, all of her softball tournaments up there in northern Spokane is gone, completely wiped out, burnt the whole thing to a crisp. But they had actual like football tournaments going on.
Yep.
And they all got evacuated out of there. But while we're at the shop, like we kept getting all these people who were like coming in to get tattooed because they're like, yeah, we're waiting for our hotel room. So we thought we'd hang out in a hotel, like, and they told us, oh yeah, we got evacuated. But like, I don't know, 5 or 6 different groups of people were trying to get tattooed while their houses were burning down. So like, it was really weird. But there was a lot of people who were displaced by these fires that are, you know, who knows like what kind of compensation, what kind of life they're going to be able to rebuild after it. Like retired people who were going to live out the rest of their last decade or 15 years in this house now have nowhere to go. All sorts of just tragedy wrapped into fires. I really hate fires. It's one of those disasters that, you know, having been through a very, very small version of a house fire, really kind of hits me a little harder than a lot of the other kind of natural disaster type of things. But, and I also, you know, grew up in Northern California, so it was yearly for us every year in Northern California. I mean, Paradise, look at what happened to Paradise. You know? So,
I used to have a hometown as well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's one of those things that just really affects me. But the data center thing is curious, but I'm not putting any bets on it quite yet. So
more things to keep an eye out on for sure.
Yeah, more things to focus on. Let's help those families first. And we did a whole bunch at church last week to try to raise up a bunch of money for the victims of the fire. So
does your church have a page or anything that you can link to in social posts about it? Or was it like an in-person drive?
It was an in-person drive, but I think we actually have donation links too within the website, and you can specify to where it goes, and that's where the money will go. They're very, very good about it, and they're very transparent with the money that they take in and where it goes. So,
I mean, if you have it,
and
we'll put something out for anybody else.
For the record, for anybody else listening, no, my pastor does not make $500,000 a year. Not even remotely close. Not even remotely close. It's not even, I would say, a fifth of that, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And I know because I spend an enormous amount of time with him and his family. He's not pulling in $500K a year. So, but yeah, all of that money is accounted for, and it all goes towards where you specify it to, because even the pastor and the elders don't actually distribute the money. They just make sure that the people who are doing it are supervised, but all of those people, we have a whole team of accountants that actually make sure that it goes to where it's supposed to go. And it's all accounted for, and we do yearly things. Every year he goes over the financials of the church and actually breaks it all down as to where every penny went. And so, so that way there's no question marks, and people don't think he's living large on our dime. So, but anyway, yeah. So if you want to donate, I'll see if I can send over the link, and we'll get that going to help out all those people in need.
Yeah.
So, but
well, you mentioned something in the pre-show about a legacy website coming back called MySpace.
Yeah.
And that dates people of a certain age for sure. Everyone had a MySpace account.
It was my first social media. If I'm being truthful, I don't think I owned social media outside of like what was the one
an AOL handle or some shit like that? But that wasn't really true social media back then. That was just IRC chat.
Yeah. So, but as far as like an origin point of social media, MySpace is where it all started for me. And
same.
I think for a lot of us of our age group, but and MySpace had its special moment in time where it was a reflection of your personality. It was so customizable that you could put backgrounds on it, different skins on it, and you could move your friends list around. Here's your top 5 friends or whatever. And if someone pissed you off, you could kick them off your list and bring somebody else in there.
Yeah, it's like the Fortune 500. It's constantly shifting with, who's adding the most value to your life on your page.
And it was a click, like even somebody like me could customize it and make it pretty cool. You could add your own music, and in fact, it became kind of a, like you had mentioned, like it's kind of a starter web page.
Only way to really promote your band without having, the confines of a distributor or distribution deal with a small, medium, or large record label. If you could throw people at a public page where they could follow, you could even put, you could embed like your latest track or something so they could listen to it on your page. It was a perfect spot for bios. It was a perfect spot for indexing all the stuff that you were interested in. It was really, really kind of a clever way to market a band. And that's kind of what the whole site sort of shifted into becoming there toward the end of days for it, which I know there's a data breach in 2019 that wiped out a lot of the legacy stuff. But I think it just kind of stopped being used back then because of places like Facebook and how easy it was to get involved in other people's thoughts and likes rather than more of a standardized interest post like would be a message board or a blog space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I just remember, I don't even remember what I did with mine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it was so long ago. And I know that I had customized it. I don't really remember even what kind of content I put on there because I think I had a bit of a transition of a bit of a transition from MySpace to Facebook that I didn't really recognize how Facebook worked because if I look at like my memories from Facebook when it like at the origin of when it'll take you all the way back, and I've got some stuff from like I think like 15-16 years ago when I started Facebook, and I can tell by the way that I wrote posts on Facebook, I didn't understand how it worked properly. Yeah. And so it's phrased oddly, and I'm like, oh, I was figuring this out at this point. Okay, never mind. Like, but so I know that there was a different way of communication from MySpace to Facebook that kind of changed the whole landscape of social media when Facebook came in and kind of reinvented how to do that. And MySpace was far friendlier an area. Like there wasn't really a way to get into arguments, I think, on MySpace, if I'm not mistaken. Like it wasn't post and then comment war underneath it. Right. It didn't really have that. You could
like
same
stuff
kind of
and
system.
Copy stuff from those pages, but I don't think you could directly comment on them until much later. Like when they were trying to fend themselves off from the Facebook machine when they were both still active for a little while. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it was more like a landing zone of your personal part of the internet that you could customize with your thoughts and music and interests and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you're right. There wasn't that rapid response, immediate connect or conversation element to most of that stuff.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, it was a wonderland of social media at the time. And we all had Tom as our friend. Nobody erased Tom. That guy just looking over his shoulder from the computer, you know. Yep. And he was kind of this mythic character in that landscape. And but I'm being told that there is a planning to relaunch MySpace, with its owners confirming that they are waiting for the right time to bring the platform back. And this comes more than 20 years after the original launch, aiming to recapture its former popularity. Its current owners are Chris and Tim Vanderhook, confirming their intentions to bring the platform back to life. And I don't know anything about these guys. I don't know if they are some type of tech moguls. They've been stewards of MySpace brand since acquiring it in 2011.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, they are cautious about relaunching it, but what they want to do is recapture what they used to have, because apparently they see a vacuum and they see a need for people to be able to do what we were just describing,
right,
and not have that battle mentality engagement that X and that Facebook and all of those other social media engagement kind of, it's embedded in you. You cannot escape that. But the other thing that you can't escape is the algorithms that they're all set on. So one of the things that they are actually proposing is that MySpace will be without algorithm, that this new relaunch will make sure that you're not being advertised to, that you're not being fed information to kind of to push a narrative in any capacity, that there will be no algorithm that tracks you or suggests to you in any capacity, that it is basically a creative site to be creative on.
Right.
And so that being said, that sounds great on paper. I really, really would applaud that on paper.
Right.
But in this day and age, do I trust it? Knowing full well that Facebook was absolutely a CIA op, that they got us all hook, line, and sinker into a social media platform to basically data collect and do what they are currently doing. Do I trust that this is the alternative, or have they collected enough data with all the other ones that this one would be kind of pointless to create another avenue for that?
Well, it doesn't make sense from a business perspective either. If the premise of your business idea is to feed off a nostalgic feeling, that's not going to last for very long. You don't have a competitive edge in the marketplace for engagement, which is kind of how these things are survived by. Marketing is going to be very, very difficult. And if you don't have a very, let's face it, extraordinarily intrusive way to validate the user base, it's going to be eaten by AI and bots, just like all the other social media sites. So what then are we really promoting, other than here's a wave of nostalgia that really would last less than a year, in my opinion? So if the damage reveals the cost and it's too expensive to run without a real business plan behind it, it won't work. It just won't work. Like the concept is not a good concept. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they got to come out with something like the affect of having something like that around is very attractive by comparison. Of course, I fear for the bots and the AI, must eat everything mentality. If our only real hook is playing toward people's nostalgia, number one, you're limiting the user group by age anyway. And number two, I don't think that's a forever business model. So I'm glad they've publicly announced when the time is right, but I'm not sure, unless there's a few more ingredients we're not seeing or a few more hints dropped on what that might look like. I'm not sure that it would last around. I wonder if it is truly better served as a moment in time,
Yeah, for sure. I think that you're right. The audience is going to be a blip in the radar. Like, there's only
because they're targeting you and me, not newer kids. No one knows what MySpace was, right? So like already your user base is way smaller than you'd want.
Exactly. You're not going to get not going to get Kevin on it.
Yeah.
Kevin, you're not going to open up a MySpace page, right?
Yeah. My social media exposure is they call it the U.S. Post Office, and we used to lick stamps, and that's pretty much how it went.
Yep. So we're not getting his generation. My mom won't open up a MySpace unless she can attack people on the internet, and it won't allow her to do that. So, but like that generation is not going to care.
Right.
The younger generation under us isn't going to care either. They're using social media. You know, we think TikTok is like their stuff. They're using stuff way past TikTok. Like, so we don't even have like a comprehension of what they're using. And they're going to go, why would we use this archaic thing? Mm-hmm. And it's literally just a nostalgia machine for us. Now, the only other thing I could think of would be like you said, for bands or creatives or selling products or anything like that, selling your services. And that would be the only real valid reason to use it outside of, look, I can put my favorite song on here and my top friends, and then that last 6 months before you got bored with it.
Well, and your features and benefits have to be, frankly, extraordinarily clever and cutting edge, because even in a marketplace of creators, you need an algorithm to expose you to similar creators. So if you don't have a place where you can sell your products and services without an engine like that, there has to be a deeper value than simply a nostalgic play. I would like, this is me being a cold-hearted bastard with my business hat on, but I would shit all over this business plan unless I knew more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would agree with you on that. And as much as my heart gets tugged by the idea and nostalgia, it's just not wise.
I promoted my music on that space, and all my friends' music. And I would kill for those days to come back, because you could also listen to free latest tracks that's embedded into the HTML right on the page. Just plug in your headphones and no one else had to hear it. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll keep an eye on it. I mean, I like the fact that it's being discussed. I'll say that much. I'm 2 thumbs up on that. But what the output is, who knows? So
yeah, for sure. Hey, you got your bungee cords? You got bungee cords around the house?
I have a few. Yeah.
You have a few?
I have a few. They were being used to tether the garbage cans in place.
Okay. I think having your dad around might be useful for tomorrow. You want to throw your hat on?
I think it's time. I need to go. We are putting our tinfoil hats on for Conspiracy Corner part of the show. So just as a reminder for all of you watching us live or listening later, when we put these hats on, you have to suspend all personal and professional credibility during Conspiracy Corner. So we're revisiting this week something we talked about a while ago, which was, hey, nice prediction, Nostradamus. It didn't happen. Well, tomorrow it's supposed to happen. We're supposed to lose all gravity on Earth for a period of time, and it's going to cause chaos, and world banks are going to fall, and oceans will be on the moon, and the moon will be on the ocean. And why haven't we landed on the moon? Can we one day land on the sun?
Cats and dogs living together.
What about in the wintertime when it's cold? Maybe we could land on the sun then. So what's happening? Tomorrow's the day. We're supposed to lose gravity. We have to tether everything down. What's going to happen?
Yeah. So according to this theory, which is a NASA Project Anchor theory that popped up on the internet, apparently a particular scientist, and I don't really care about his name because it doesn't really matter.
That one guy from that one time we talked about it.
Right. Decided to leak a whole bunch of stuff about a NASA project that they've known for years about. Apparently there is a convergence of something happened where 2 black holes basically ate each other while back.
Yeah.
And then
we can of course prove that
in conjunction with I guess there's going to be a solar lunar alignment eclipse tomorrow.
All the planets are going to be hanging out behind the bleachers all at one time.
Yeah. So that's supposed to happen tomorrow. And at that point, the governments have known about it, which is why they've been digging all of the underground tunnels and cities and under the Denver airport, all of that kind of stuff. They've been doing a bunch of underground bunker stuff because they've been preparing for this. I haven't seen any mobilization on the news like, hey, where's everybody going today, which you would think today'd be moving day. But apparently tomorrow at, I think they actually said at a particular time too. And I'm trying to find out what the time is. I can't really see what time it's supposed to happen. But there is supposed to be, I think it's in the morning on Pacific Standard Time, like 7 something in the morning. Yeah. And we are supposed to lose gravity on the entire planet for 7 seconds. And there's been video after video after video on YouTube made about this topic. There's a lot of people who are pushing this, or people who are questioning it. There's a lot of articles that they've had to write to debunk it. There's a ton of articles from, the New York Times to even this one I've got from the Economic Times. Like, all sorts of news outlets have been forced to, and NASA actually came out and actually made a statement on it saying that none of this is true. But of course NASA would, they're not going to tell everybody, oh yeah, by the way, it's all going to happen tomorrow. NASA would obviously come out and say, no, nothing's going to happen. Everybody just hold tight. But, the reality is that according to this, everything that isn't tethered to the ground for 7 seconds is going to lift off the planet, including water, including vehicles, structures, humans. Anything that isn't completely tethered down is going to go up into roughly somewhere in the realm of between 300 and 1,000 feet above the surface of the planet. Yeah. And then at the end of the 7 seconds, all come crashing back down. And it is going to basically wipe out up to, from what this is saying, above 400 million people will die. Yeah. Globally. And that's low estimations.
I have a couple of issues with it. One, if it's going to happen, I have really tall ceilings in my house. I'll probably get hurt. I'll probably survive. So that's my first technical problem. The second technical problem, and it's a minor one. I am pretty sure, don't quote me on this, I think the Earth spins. And while it's spinning, I think it's also rotating around a large gravitational body that's a constantly burning star. So until both of those forcing functions stop, I'm not too stressed about it. But again, this is napkin math here. There were 9 planets when I went to school, so who the fuck knows? I don't know what they're doing with Pluto these days, but I am not as convinced as I wanted to be when we first covered this, whatever it was earlier this year, maybe late last year.
Well,
so I didn't get any extra. I didn't get any extra bungees, man.
Yeah. Well, it's absolutely going to ruin your birthday, for one.
For sure.
But for two, I think the heat wave actually might save.
Pop has something to say on topic here.
Okay.
All right. I don't have one of these hot rod hats you guys got, but I'm absolutely positive that it's going to happen to me. Mm-hmm. And it's going to happen at 12:55. I think 11:55 or 12:55. I am going to lift off, and I will be probably at 28,000 feet all the way to Phoenix. So I'm sure it's coming true. So that's
for Kevin. It's specific to Kevin.
We'll have to get some reports back on how that weightless journey went.
He's going to get a really good view of everything, though.
He'll get a good view. It'll be considerably longer than 7 minutes.
And I believe I have a window seat.
There you go. And he's on a window seat. So things are looking up for... We have a correspondent in the field. That's how serious we took this. That's how serious we took it.
I think actually the heat wave in Vegas is actually going to help because everybody's going to be inside the casinos.
Sure.
So Vegas is actually going to take very little damage.
I think Las Vegas, Nevada would probably find a way, if this were a real threat, to ensure that whatever floated up off the ground, that their money would somehow remain gravity locked in the vaults that it's in at any cost. I'm fairly certain of that.
And charge them to come back.
Yeah.
So that's probably what told them to come back down.
Right.
Yeah.
But my car's in there. Well, it floated away. You got to pay to park. Sorry, that's how it goes.
In the impound lot.
Yeah. So it is supposed to be tomorrow morning. I really was looking forward to this being one of those art of the possible things, but I had to actually stop and think a little bit, and because I did that, I started to shy away from this being as exciting as it was. However, we did talk about it. We're talking about it again. It's supposed to be tomorrow, so if you are also joining us with a tinfoil hat on, shit, grab some ratchet straps.
I thought the timing was important, though. I thought that since it is tomorrow, we happen to be on air tonight, that was what we should readdress and see where we felt this time around. And I'm, like I said, not seeing any major mobilization where governments are abandoning their posts and flooding underground bunkers and the news going, where's everybody going? Like, right. It's just not happening. So I'm not tracking with this one.
Yeah.
So,
and if the city of Las Vegas's underground tunnel system were filling up, we are expecting heavy rain. So unless the rain floats away too, those will be flooded out. So no one's going down there tonight for sure.
All right. Yeah. All right. So, well,
tomorrow
that's it for for me. We'll see. Yeah.
Set your alarms.
We may not be here next week, guys.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'll report back as soon as I end up in Phoenix.
We'll get a report as soon as he's in Phoenix. We'll put something out.
Yeah.
Well, Conspiracy Corner losing gravity. Excellent. Sure.
So
we move into some highlight stuff this week. You have, speaking of nostalgia, what do you have for the dope this
that's
week?
what I was going to say. So, kind of connected to the nostalgia of MySpace. Mm-hmm. You and I grew up video game kids.
True.
And there's a whole area of the internet, and I'm just going to focus on two in particular that kind of give me some joy. That is nostalgia game culture, basically games from the 80s and 90s, essentially, and early 2000s up into, because man, there were some bangers out there. We had, we started off with the Pong and then Atari and in television like I had. And then basically it launched off the planet with the first Nintendo and then the first Sega, the first Super Nintendo, first Genesis. And then you had the Nintendo 64. And then Sony jumps in with the PlayStation, which they've done multiple iterations of since then. But basically, up until PlayStation
Dreamcast
2,
in there for a minute, there was and then they went into the handheld stuff, which really went nuts.
Yeah, so basically, from essentially Nintendo to PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo 64 is kind of where I want to kind of focus on this particular thing, which a lot of these guys do. And there's two guys in particular that I watch pretty regularly, and they've got really fun channels where they explore retro gaming at that level, and they kind of bring up stuff that jogs memories and brings in hey, no one played this game. Look at how bizarre this weird game they made for the Super Nintendo or whatever. And
Joust.
So there's so there's this guy named Carmichael Jones, and he's got a funny channel, and he's all over. He's on YouTube, but also the social medias. He's got 95,000 followers on Instagram and TikTok and all of the basic social media platforms. And he's got the what he calls the retro roulette, which is a wheel that he puts, and he'll pick a genre. He'll pick either all like Nintendo 64 games or all PlayStation 1 games, and he'll have it lined up with 100 to 200 different games of the worst games that system had to offer. And he'll spin the wheel, and then he'll get that one, and then he'll play that game and just kind of roast it while he's playing it, and then give you his feedback on it, whether or not that they should all be burned in a fire, whether or not they should be just rented, or if he would buy that game. And while he kind of throws in some fun comedy in it, but you get to kind of see play-by-play of these games that you're like, man, I remember that, and wow, it was bad. That's a terrible game. And so he gets to go through all of that and have a lot of fun, kind of just roasting bad games from that era. And I've had a lot of fun kind of following along with him, where he goes over like the Spice Girls game or Power Drift, or like a super rare game called Rascal. And he just goes through all these horrible games, and it's a lot of fun to watch him go, did you play this game? And if you did, what did you think of it? You know? And then there's the other guy who I've been following longer. This guy goes by Topher A, and his name's Christopher Adams, but he goes by Topher A. And he is a guy who has this crazy basement in his house that he's lit up with arcade machines and all sorts of video game consoles and a cool lighting and neons all over the place. And he's got a really fun personality. You know, he tattooed, he's got like a full like Mario or like a Nintendo sleeve, and he basically goes over the history of some of these old nostalgic games, of like what brought them, why they disappeared, what was the ending of this kind of franchise and why it dipped out, or why this franchise didn't lift off, and then just kind of goes nostalgia lane through a lot of these things. But he's got a really fun personality. He's like made for this kind of content. He almost looks like a human version of like a narrator in a late 90s video game, you know. And he's just,
it's always nice when you have the aesthetic to match the content, for sure.
Yeah. And so he just has this kind of really heartfelt quality to him. He really loves this stuff, and you can tell it's a passion of his. And the whole downstairs room looks like a room that any one of us would have wanted to own when we were kids. Yeah. And he just made it a reality. There's just, the
dreamscape 15-year-old bedroom.
Ninja Turtle stuff everywhere, but also like the lighting is all like exactly like an arcade in there, and there's just arcades everything's colorful.
I don't suffer from any of that present day, by the way.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's exactly what you would want in somebody who's trying to kind of bring you back to that era, and he knows exactly how to draw you in. And it's just a fun little kind of time rewind for our generation, where we, so much of our connected memory is based around these games we spent hours and hours and hours on, and these guys really know how to capture it and kind of regurgitate it back to us in a really palatable way, because there are a lot of these that are really dry, really boring, really nerdy, but these guys kind of put personality to it, so you can relive those moments without actually having to spend the money that these guys spend on it. And I've got some retro systems and stuff that I absolutely love. Don't really have a lot of time to play them, but these guys have kind of dedicated it to it. And if you need just a pocket in the day where you can follow these guys and then just kind of go, oh yeah, that was cool, I remember that, and either get the inspiration to do it yourself or just kind of live through them, I think it's one of those places where I get a little dopamine from it. Very similar to watching the baseball card nostalgia guys for me, where they're opening up the packs of like 1989 Topps or whatever, right? Where I don't need to buy the cards. I can just watch those videos and go, I had those. Man, I remember that one. I remember that one. And is he going to get the Griffey Jr. rookie? Is he going to get the, and
because you kind of get to be a bystander for somebody who gets the feeling of opening the pack and drawing the card. And you're like, oh, is the one in there, like you're rooting for him while he's doing it kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a very similar kind of dopamine hit that you get from the video game guys of like, we lived in an era, like for the listeners, years ago, we had a house fire. And we had to move out of that house. And none of our stuff got damaged. So we were actually very fortunate. God really blessed us in that situation. But downstairs in the basement, I had the coolest room of basically nostalgia. It was all decorated wall-to-wall toys, Star Wars toys, 80s toys from floor to ceiling, stuff hanging from the ceiling. I had like a gaming table in the middle. I had a TV with all the retro systems up, boxes and boxes of comic books that I was collecting. It was basically kind of a tribute to all of the stuff that, God bless my mother and dad, but they just did not have the money to buy me when I was a kid that I did. And I was like, I'm not alone. There's a lot of people my age that are major toy collectors, major retro video game collectors. And it really just brings up a sense of joy for us to even just go to conventions that are kind of catered to that kind of stuff. So this kind of pop nostalgia that we live through is kind of a remembering of a feeling that really we going to Blockbuster and renting those games at Blockbuster, and that kind of era really is a generational thing for us. And so these guys just really tap into that. They really kind of feed it back to you and go, remember this, and kind of feed that dopamine that sometimes when your news feed is full of fires and shootings and failing governments and all of the doom and gloom that the algorithm pushes us and all those social media things, that every once in a while you need a pocket of joy and something to follow. And so that's what this whole segment has always been about. And these guys provide it in spades. So I highly recommend following Carmichael Jones and Retro Roulette and Topher A, Christopher Adams. He's got really great content. Highly recommend him. And go enjoy some nostalgia with those guys.
Nice.
So,
heck yeah. Also, hello, Slants23. I missed you earlier. Welcome back. Dude, you have quite a bit of movies. Now, in the pre-show, I'll admit, you had texted me an outline that included Spider-Man, I assume Brand New Day. What the typo said was Brandon New Day, and I thought, oh God, did someone make a Let's Go Brandon Spider-Man, and where can I watch it? I quickly figured it was a typo and just went with that. But you've got 3 on this week. Where do you want to start with this week?
Did you have anything that you've watched? I know you guys have been kind
nothing
of
we haven't covered. I exposed Dad to Project Hail Mary, which was fun. We got to root for Little Rock. Then that led to if that sounds cool, we should check out The Martian. So we watched The Martian, which was a lot of fun. And then we revisited Top Gun Maverick the other day, which is always a classic. Like, yeah. So it's all playing all the right hits for good movies for sure this weekend. But as far as anything new, I've been relatively disconnected.
Yeah.
What was it called? Oh, I forced him to watch 13 Hours, the Benghazi story that you and I are a great, huge fan of. So we also knocked that one out as well, because I own that one on a different platform. So I was like, oh, you need to see this if you haven't.
I will be watching that exactly in 1 month from today.
Yeah, you watch it every year, don't you? On Memorial?
Every year. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, my family, my wife and kids, we all sit down and watch that movie, which is wildly important to watch as a reminder on September 11th every year of what that horrible administration and that horrible woman did to those people. And so, but yeah. as far as movies that I got to see this week, I want to start off with one that you've seen and that we've discussed in length, but I hadn't had a chance to see the final segment of the Mission Impossible series.
You've now completed the franchise, yes? This was also the last entry in the franchise. So I suppose that's a good
Final Reckoning.
Place to start there. Look, it's not everyone's cup of tea for subject matter. It's super fun to watch. They're wildly entertaining. There's a formula to it that is not dissimilar to James Bond, my favorite franchise in film history. This is a close second for sure. Way fun. I'm sure it was worth at least part of that time for you. So how do you feel about MI generally?
Second. It was worth every second. You made me, because when I first got back into the series, I'd only seen the first 3, and I kind of gave up on the franchise because I was like kind of rolling my eyes in the way of like, what else could they possibly do, right?
Sure. Like Fast and Furious.
And I enjoyed the first. Yeah, I enjoyed the first 3, but like I'm like, this couldn't possibly be getting better as it went on. And so I just never gave it the time of day. I thought, well, I've seen the first 3, I've seen the rest of them, but I was drastically wrong with this series, and you opened my eyes to this. And I think over a weekend powered through all of them up into this last movie. And I was locked in, and it blew my mind, the connective tissue, the connectivity that they pulled in from the first 3, that they string along into all of the other series. It's not standalone. It is an ongoing saga.
Yeah.
And the final episode, Final Reckoning, really took all of the culmination into a really kind of believable big bad that they had to, after all of the villains that he beat, like, like, how can they up the stakes with who's actually, and man, did they do it, and man, did they do it well. Whoever's at the helm of the writing of this really knew what they were doing. I credit Tom Cruise for the production quality of understanding where this story needed to go. And I would agree with some people I've seen online that as a Star Wars fan, as a Harry Potter fan, as a fan of all of these other IPs, that collectively, you are not going to find a better IP of any series ever that gives you more value, bang for your buck, movie to movie, than the Mission Impossible series, bar none. Like Star Wars, you're going to get good ones, but you're going to get bad ones. There isn't a single bad movie in this whole series. There isn't one that I could leave out that didn't need to be there. There isn't a single one that didn't string you from the last one to the next one. It is a perfect chain of filmmaking that I think is very undervalued, and nobody really recognizes it outside of a few people who have spent the time doing the homework to watch this series and the writing perfection of what they did with it. I feel like absolutely genius.
That series really found itself when Cruise Wagner Productions hooked up with Christopher McQuarrie, and then they started kind of writing visionary pieces for the remaining parts to tie back into, because each of them work as a good standalone movie, but if you can connect the dots with the rest of them, the payoff is really, really nice. And well, it's pretty easy, and I do it too, to shit all over a certain stunt or some one-liner stuff or a situation. It's chocked full of that, but pound for pound for a story arc, it's an incredible body of work spanning 20-something years, I think. Like, it's pretty incredible, I think.
I saw the first one, the first Mission Impossible. When did that come out?
95, I want to say.
I saw that in the theater when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So like that, I'm 48 years old. Like that's how long this series has been going. Like
96. Yep. May 22, 96.
I graduated high school. Yep. So I was 18. So 30 years that this series has been going and has been giving us banger after banger after banger for 30 years.
And the entire string of them includes Tom Cruise. So you kind of get to see his actions through this entire life cycle play out. Whereas Bond, you get eras of different actors and stuff like that, you know?
Right.
So there's nuance to pick apart there, but this is definitely all Tom Cruise and super, super fun. Like each of them are just fun because, you know, for a popcorn whatever movie, it's a great way to spend a couple hours for sure, I think.
I'll tell you there was the scene in this particular one where he's got the special suit and he's having to go so deep and explore the nuclear sub.
Yeah.
That was one of the most intensely uncomfortable scenes I've seen in a long time. Like I was literally sitting on the edge of my couch and like rocking, and I didn't even realize I was doing it until my daughter pointed it out. She goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm really like stressed out about this."
We're playing with darkness, we're playing with water, we're playing with oxygen loss, and we're playing with nuclear. Who knows what going on?
All of the above. The stakes were high.
Stakes were really high, and to know that you know, like it. I will continue to joke about pretty sure Tom Cruise wants to die doing a stunt because he does all those stunts himself. And there's, you know, behind the scenes where he's broken legs shooting these things and arms and dislocated elbows and whatever. There's an incredible amount of physical punishment that is doled out, particularly in this film with all the water stuff and the pressure stuff and the fight scenes. And hats off to a guy that just keeps sending it at 110 miles an hour for these films. He didn't
soften it for this last movie.
No.
Like he always turns it up one more notch for each one of these movies. And at his age, I mean, he was 61 when he filmed this.
Yep.
You know, like, and so like
the
he
entire
turned it up.
airplane sequence, like, I mean,
there's
it's
nuts.
But
nuts.
I thought they ended the franchise piece of the story pretty well. I think the undoing of the major bad guy is a little bit of a dated plot line on how to beat it, but the fact that it exists and the parallels to today in real life where most of this could be very feasible, I thought they did a great job. And it wasn't
for sure.
You know, it wasn't like Galactus versus Tom Cruise kind of thing. So
totally. Overall, I'm gonna give this particular movie probably the rewatchability is really high on this. You could probably put this on over and over again, but I'm going to say 9 megs, but I'm going to give the entire series probably 9.5 megs total.
That's about where I'm at.
Yeah, just because there isn't a skip in it. There isn't a beat missed. There isn't, like, they do such a good job of being so cohesive in its timing, its structure, its writing. Everything is precise, and they did such a good job of keeping the pace from point A to the very end, and keeping that pace and that momentum going throughout the whole thing, that there was no drag, there was no, like, it's seamless. And I think that it deserves a 9.5, and you can watch any one of them in any way and be happy with the movie you watched that day.
Yeah, I got around to seeing the new Fantastic Four a while ago, and I kept referring to Sue Storm as the White Widow. I was like, oh, it's the White Widow. Who's the White Widow? Like, the Mission Impossible, but oh, you haven't seen it. It's the White Widow.
I've done the same thing. I was like, oh, she's the White Widow, and everyone's like, what are you talking about?
Awesome. So I've not even heard of The Last House, I don't think.
You probably haven't.
Is this a scary film?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's not a gory, monster, bloody, scary film. It is really interesting, though.
Okay.
And it came out just like a couple of days ago, August 7th. And I watched it the day it came out because I was looking for something new to watch. And it popped up, and I saw the trailer, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And it is set in current times, and a family of 4 is suddenly sealed inside their house with no way out and must work together to survive against both their dwindling resources and the mysterious looming threat that is keeping them trapped. Okay. Now, this movie is set in Seattle, and it is a mom and a dad. They're like just probably 12-year-old son and their like 8-year-old daughter.
Is it the oppressive tax policies keeping them locked in that house, or did they fantasize it a little bit?
Yeah,
no, okay.
Oddly, joblessness does take a role.
So Seattle's in there somewhere. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So it looks like they live up on, if I'm were to venture a guess, they live up on Queen Anne, like up in that region, just from the view of the Space Needle that they have and the type of housing. And so, but they live in an older house that's kind of they find out that it all starts in one day. So they talk about how the foundation is kind of cracked and it's making the foundation slip. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a rundown older house. And the husband is an out of work engineer. And he is, I don't know what the mom does. I don't think it ever explains that, but he's spending his time down on the pier fishing while he's waiting for jobs to come in, and he shows back up, and it's shortly before Christmas, and the kids want to go buy a Christmas tree. But there's this big storm that came in right as he got home, and it's just a giant storm that they were talking about all over the news. And as he comes home, it really starts pouring, and he goes, "Do we have to go get a Christmas tree in the rain?" And they're like, "Please." And he goes, all right. Well, it turns out this isn't any regular storm. The water in this is actually creating some type of like connected liquid hard shield around all of the houses. Okay. And you can't open the door, you can't turn the knob, it's locked everything up, you can't break through the windows. If you shatter the window, there's still like a pane behind it of basically water glass or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they can't open anything up, and they don't know what to do, and they start panicking, and then they start looking around the neighborhood, and it's happening to all their neighbors too. So they start holding up signs with stuff written on it, "This is happening everywhere," so on and so forth. And they kind of figure that it's either something government related or aliens related. So they're just going to hunker down as a family and make the best of it until it lets up. And, a couple of days turns into a couple of weeks, turns into a couple of months, and they can't leave their house, and they're running out of food.
They got to eat Charles at some point, right?
Yeah. And they're watching the neighbors kind of go through struggles, and they're not really explaining as to what is causing this, but they decide they've got to survive. So the dad, as an engineer, creates like these contraptions out of stuff out of the garage, because they found out that the chimney, because of the broken structure of it, hasn't been sealed, but they can't crawl through it. It's too small, but they can hoist stuff through it. And he hoists stuff on cords that drops out onto the back patio where wildlife has decided to start. And it's traps that he then drags like, squirrels and raccoons and stuff to eat up through there. And they rip up the floor to then plant a bunch of seeds that the mom had collected off the cucumbers and tomatoes and everything. And they start planting food so that they can survive. And then fast forward, sorry, my chair just buckled. They fast forward, and they've been there for 5 years. And their house has kind of turned into like almost a jungle gym of nets and ropes and then plants and stuff like that. And the kids are now older, and they've got a bunch of systems set up, and then it comes, you start to realize that they've been seeing things outside, and they have to close the windows or they'll get attacked, and there's some type of monster outside. Now, before going into anything further than that, really, really cool concept of a film. Mm-hmm. They did a really great job of coming up with a concept. The acting was superb. Mm-hmm. But you ever watch a movie or on TV where the dialogue and the mouths moving is slightly off?
Yeah.
Right? So take that as writing. Like the writing and the dialogue is slightly off from the acting. Like the acting's great, but it looks like it felt like they had a first draft of the dialogue that they just went with instead of kind of giving it to a dialogue writer who's like, this is how they would actually talk. And, you know, it felt really canned and like, but it was easy to overlook because of the acting and because of kind of the overall concept. The third act kind of reveals everything and goes into a totally different direction and is far more action-packed, far more sci-fi, far more kind of survival, and then gives you kind of a weird ending. I really enjoyed the movie. It's a great popcorn flick. If you're willing to kind of forego a few kind of, you know, like the dialogue's not great, but it's fine. There's a few things in the third act that don't really make sense. And you're like, nah, whatever. We're talking about like supernatural situation stuff here. So we're not going to, you know, go too heavy into the
suspend a little disbelief, but so did we need it?
But overall, really interesting concept for a film, really fun. It had elements of like of A Quiet Place mixed with Jaws, mixed with a couple of other kind of suspense movies that but really with a really interesting kind of take to a subgenre that I'd never even seen explored in cinema before. So really kind of cool take. Overall, probably about 7.5 megs on the toothy end. So definitely worth a watch. It does have a Shyamalan feel to it, though, like an M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah. So the rewatchability is not great. It'd be fun to watch with other people for the first time, but like if you know how it ends, then you don't really need to watch it again, kind of thing, you know. But it's definitely a fun one-time popcorn film watch that if somebody else, you know, is kind of into the genre, you go, oh, sit down and watch this. It's kind of interesting, you know. It'd be fun. So yeah, it's not stellar, but it was a really fun kind of watch. So 7.5 megs on that one.
Did you see War Machine by chance with Alan Richardson?
I started the beginning of it and I haven't finished it, so I've got to finish that one.
Also a really original concept and very, very cool. But the first like 30 minutes of that is basically like a U.S. Army Rangers recruitment video is kind of how it feels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, where are we going with it? Like, boy, this feels like a lot. But it really opens up into a wildly original concept that I spotted almost instantly at the pivot point where I was like, oh, this is going to be way different than I thought. This is going to be fun. Finish that one up, see what you think maybe by next week. It's super fun. Plus I like Alan Richardson.
I'll watch it tonight. Yeah. So, and then I had mentioned earlier that Oliver and his girlfriend had split up. And also Oliver's been really making amends for his stop sign theft. And I know he's been just kind of, you know, isolated because we've been keeping him at the house, and I just really wanted to kind of spend some time with him. So Aaron stayed at home and us boys went to go see the new Spider-Man movie. So we went and saw Spider-Man Brand New Day, not Brandon Day.
Which so, I was really hoping there was a plot twist there and figured there might not be.
Yeah. So it's not about Spider-Man finding out about his new identity or anything like that. It's definitely,
Spider-Man's transitioning. Fun.
So this movie comes on the heels of the last Spider-Man movie, whatever it was called, that we watched and absolutely loved as a family. It was a fantastic film.
I think that might have been Homecoming, which I'm not sure I've seen yet, or at least all of. But this, I guess, just as an high-level viewpoint, this is like shattering box office records right now, isn't it? It's like
it should.
Mega big release for this movie. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't too sure of it because typically I like a very strong antagonist to my superhero films. I really want the big bad. I want somebody, a Green Goblin or somebody like that, right? And this doesn't really have that, but it has so much more to it that it didn't matter to me. And in fact, the last Spider-Man movie was my favorite of the series. This one might rival it, if not overtake it, because it was so good.
Nice.
And they did such a good job. And man, all of the stuff that they had in this that really were key points was the Punisher was in it, and he was hilarious and phenomenal. The Hulk was in it, and it was probably the best depiction of the Hulk since prior to Ragnarok Hulk. So like.
Is it still played by the same guy?
Yeah, Ruffalo.
Yeah. I know Bernthal does Punisher, and I really like him in that role.
Yeah, so he did a really good job. Like the depiction of this Hulk was not soft Hulk. They brought bad Hulk back, and it was awesome. Nice. A lot of other cameos are in it from like. Yelena from the White Widow from the other, the Thunderbolts. She was in it a bunch with some funny scenes.
Black Widow's little sister.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So she was in it a bunch. They had all sorts of great cameos from different characters. It was really touching. The action was crazy. And they really upped the ante on kind of the spider cam of him swinging around and stuff. Really put you more so in the seat with him than I've ever seen done in another movie.
Nice.
But they've got some pretty good villains too. They had what's his name? Scorpion, and they had Tombstone, but really the big one was Sadie Sink, and her reveal in this, by the way, is really huge because she plays none other than Jean Grey, and she is the big bad in this.
Oh wow!
And so
Jean Grey as a mind-altered Phoenix, or Jean Grey as Jean Grey figuring her life out?
Jean Grey as a teenager before she's ever met a single other X-Man.
Got it.
And so really, really well done writing it into this in the way that they did. And then also other agencies that are really cool, called like Damage Control, which they had in the 80s. They had comics of Damage Control, which was the organization that went in and cleaned up after all the superheroes and stuff. They actually had a kind of a team that did that, and they were called Damage Control. His interactions, Peter's interactions with his life, with the people that the last film he was forced to make everyone forget about him, like a mind wipe kind of situation, and him being isolated, and the interaction between him and Frank Castle, like it was so well written, and the pacing was so good, and it just really, really deserves all of the accolades that it's getting right now. Nice. 9 megs flat.
Oh, sweet.
Great Spider-Man film. I have been highly recommend.
It's been strikeout after strikeout after strikeout for all the new block Marvel movies for me. I just don't resonate with the characters. That kind of stuff, like the Eternals and Shang-Chi, and even the Thunderbirds was kind of like, it was fun, but it was like, I don't know. So I'm glad to hear they're storming back with something cool, and that's a good character to benchmark for coolness going forward.
Yeah. So highly recommend it. If you get a chance to see it in the theater, go for it. But nice. It's pretty awesome. So so that does it for me as far as my reviews.
Sick.
Which I think only leaves us with one more thing to do.
That's it. We have to teach people how to be an evil overlord if they want to be, and we have tips to teach you how to do it.
That's right.
Where are we at? 31 this week? 31 tips.
We are. We're at the 31st tip.
What do you got for us?
So we often allow the hero, like our contentious heroes who always seem to try to ruin our plans. They have inspiration. They're inspired by something, and it's typically love. Love inspires heroism, and I can't, as an overlord, you can't allow that.
You can't.
If you're trying to be a dictator, if you're trying to be an overlord, you're trying to kind of create a mass control system, you've got to make sure that you're not letting stuff like this leak. So all naive, busty tavern wenches in my realm will be replaced with surly, world-weary waitresses who will provide no unexpected reinforcement and or romantic subplot for the hero or his sidekick.
Perfect.
They tend to not only inspire, but also, if captured or injured, create vengeance scenarios. And so it gives motivations for these folks to then, just eliminate the whole problem. Just put a surly, mustached woman.
Where is she?
Who knows how to slug a pint of beer and throw it on a table. That's all you need. And she doesn't have to be friendly. She does, she just needs to be able to do the job. So replace all of your busty bar wenches with, with
surly, world weary, no punches pulled. That's great. I love it.
That's right. So, but that's the tip for the week.
That's amazing. Overlord tips 31. I love it.
Well, that does it for me.
I think that's it for this week. Yeah.
I do believe. I don't think I have anything coming up next week. What is the date of next week? We should probably always check that before we leave so that we don't
land on a holiday again. It is the 18th. It's August 18. That'll be next Tuesday.
Okay. I think I'm solid for that one. I don't think I've got anything going on. So, but cool. All right. You got anything to add?
No, just that hopefully
what's Kevin saying over there in the corner?
Anti-gravity cleanup won't be too bad by next week is what he was remarking on. So we'll keep everyone posted as we go. But no, I think that's it for me, man. For Lucky I'm the Angel, have an awesome evening.